This video is going to be catering to multiple fan bases, in particular the Vancouver Canucks and the Seattle Kraken, because today what I wanted to do was revisit one of these older conversations that we had mostly during the 2017-18 year. Now, if you've been following the channel for the past few days throughout this off-season, we've been kind of doing this a lot. You know, talking about stuff that we had talked about before. It's kind of funny to see where things went 5-6 years into the future because, I mean, look, these were all the rage back in the day. And I say that like I'm not only 23 years old myself, but either way, let's talk today about one of the more underrated steals the Vancouver Canucks had that ended up not being anything for this organization. A guy who, in the minds of some Canucks fans, was better than a top 10 pick. Let's talk today about Kole Lind and the entire argument going around at the time as to whether or not he was better than top 6 prospect Cody Glass. Now, Lind is our main subject here because he, as we had said, was a Vancouver Canucks draftee. He was taken in the 33rd overall spot in the 2017 draft, and in this 2017 year, the guy had 87 points in 70 games played. 30 goals, 57 assists. Why isn't anyone taking Kole Lind? Jim Benning said, infamously on draft day number 2 in the YouTube video they published of the behind the scenes. Kole Lind was an offensively versatile forward in the WHL this season. His 87 points were just 7 points behind that of Cody Glass, a guy who was taken in the 6th overall spot of that same year by the Vegas Golden Knights. Part of the reason so many Canucks fans were obsessed with Cody Glass and would always bring up his name whenever they had talked about Kole Lind is because with the 5th overall pick, the Vancouver Canucks passed on Glass. They took Pettersson, Glass went immediately after, and because there were some fans that were kind of salty the team didn't take Glass because he was a WHL guy, it's just here in the backyard of a lot of Canucks fans. I feel like a lot of Canucks fans felt a lot of personal vindication by bringing up Kole Lind's name and saying, yeah, that guy produced almost the same amount of points. Take a look at that. He's right there, neck and neck with Glass for point production, even though it was somewhat of a stupid thing to bring up because Kole Lind is a right winger, a lot more offensively minded. Cody Glass was a two-way center that produced all the points he did while also being a defensively responsible beast. And there's a reason Cody Glass went in the top 10 and Kole Lind was not anywhere near that. Now sure, Lind was ranked to go somewhere around where the Canucks ended up taking him. These projections had him in the around 30 to 40-ish spot. Canucks took him at number 33. But the season after, in 2017-18, is where these arguments of Lind versus Glass really started to prevail even more so. And I remember this very clearly because during the WHL season, a lot of Canucks fans were watching, paying attention to the Kelowna Rockets because Kole Lind was on a heater. Hat tricks, multi-point games, he was outproducing Cody Glass for a good chunk of 2017-18. And you could see this on the YouTube channel, but we would always bring it up, hey, Lind is doing better than Glass, Lind and Glass. It's always these two guys because they were the top WHL eligible guys in that season, and they ended up having this similar point production. Now, to end off the year, you actually did see Cody Glass outscore Kole Lind in terms of the total points. Glass finished off his draft plus 1 with 102 points in 64 games played, 13 points, 12 games in the playoffs. Lind, however, had a better points per game. He only had 95 points, but he did so in 58 games played. He also had 2 points per game in the postseason, which, again, outclassed Cody Glass. Now, not to say that anybody was legitimately believing Kole Lind was a better hockey player, quote-unquote, than a guy who had went top 10 in the draft, but because of the Canucks fans' saltiness towards not taking Glass themselves, you could see why this argument kept on bringing itself up. As the years went on, though, the Glass versus Lind thing became a bit more underwhelming to pay attention to, all things considered. This is because, for Cody Glass, the superior player technically speaking, and a top 10 pick, he eventually made his debut with the Golden Knights and was never really able to break out there. I mean, he had 12 points in 39 games in his first year, then had himself a 10-point stint in 27 games, then he was involved in a 3-team trade, got sent over to Nashville, was not too amazing over there, but also was good in their AHL system. And so for Cody Glass, he still hasn't technically quote-unquote broken out yet. He had 35 points in 72 Nashville Predators games last season, 14 goals, and 21 assists. But after signing a 2-year extension earlier this offseason, which is going to see him making $2.5 million till the end of 2025, this is sort of the sample where we're hoping that Cody Glass finally takes over and is able to become the top 6 center that we had thought he would be when he was drafted in 2017. It took him a long time, and he eventually got passed by guys like Pettersson and even Casey Middlestad after him. Gabe Vilardi is doing well in the NHL too, and so for Glass, after finally having a full NHL season this previous year, it's hopefully the step in the right direction that this guy needs. However, of course, we do acknowledge he was a good AHL point producer, 62 points in 66 games played in 21-22. For Kole Lind, however, he was sent away from Vancouver for other reasons. You see, he was taken by the Seattle Kraken in the expansion draft, and he bounced around a little bit, was always a pretty good AHL point producer, but in this previous season didn't actually play in the NHL. Instead, he had 62 points in 72 games played and 30 goals too, not to mention 31 points in 26 playoff games as the Coachella Valley Firebirds went to the AHL Calder Cup Finals. While it took a much longer development path for Kole Lind to become a point-per-game AHL guy, he eventually got there. And he also added somewhat of a physical, more agitative style to his game too, as last year he had 91 penalty minutes, definitely not a casual type of hockey player. Even last year, he had 106 penalty minutes in only 46 AHL games played, so he was even going crazier back then. For Lind, though, he is a Seattle Kraken guy, and I feel like he's one of the more underrated and forgotten prospects they have in the system. At the very least, he is a good AHL forward and somebody that can help the depth of that Coachella Valley system. But if the Seattle Kraken wanted to start using this guy and try to exploit that offensive skill in the NHL, this may be the time to do it. Lind is on the books till the end of 2024, making $775,000. And sure, while he may not necessarily be in the same tier as Cody Glass anymore, I feel like Glass, even though he is not too amazing of a player like a top 10 guy should be, he's already passed Lind in a pretty significant way. There still is a lot of potential for both of these guys. They are both only 24 years old. So as time goes on, we're going to have more chances to see both of these guys at the NHL level, of course, because we are all hoping for good players to succeed. Anybody who was paying attention in 2017 and watching this race between Lind and Glass for WHL prosperity, all of us back then are still here today and hopefully cheering for both of these guys. It's just now we're sort of rooting alongside of other fan bases. It's the Nashville Predators fan base that wants to see Cody Glass break out, and now it's Seattle that is really hoping for the best out of Lind. So, I have a question for you in the comments section below. If you remember the 2017-18 Glass versus Lind campaign, I'm going to say campaign and not even idea, because it was a thing, definitely on hockey Twitter, Canucks Twitter especially, they just could not shut up about Cody Glass and the production rates versus the Canucks own guy. While it is unfortunate the Canucks lost out on Kole Lind, they really had no choice, seeing as it was an expansion draft move. He had a very small sample size played with the Vancouver Canucks before getting acquired by Seattle, and I still remember that there were a lot of Canucks fans cheering this guy on, hoping that he would make a splash. He had 0 points in 7 games when he played with Vancouver, which was unfortunate, but still, he was there. And next season, we'll see what exactly lies in store for Lind and his development. His brother, actually, was taken by the Nashville Predators, Kole Lind, in the 2023 draft, so that's going to be a pretty interesting parallel to follow. But of course, you know, Kole Lind doesn't really have too much of a horse in this discussion. He just happens to be teammates with the guy that Canucks fans were pitting against his older brother. But either way, thoughts in the comment section below about Lind versus Glass 6 years down the line. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.